Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So continuing on with beginning Sanskrit, where we're working from two texts, Aganis, and one by a scholar called Aganis, and one Sanskrit Made Easy series, Infant Reader, by Aris Badya in Palgat. Okay, so let's have a look at lesson 4 of Aganis. So lesson 4, everybody should know already. Lesson 4 tells us, here's a summary of it. He's going to tell us 10 more consonants in Devanagari. He's going to explain in grammar, he's going to explain the nominative and the accusative cases in grammar, and he's going to give some more vocabulary with nouns that end in short A, which we usually are masculine here. So here we have 10 more consonants. These are the cerebrals, or sometimes called retroflex. Sometimes they're called retroflex by people. Cerebral consonants. Ta ta da da na. And this is how you write them. You might see that the version of the nasal here, the cerebral nasal, may be a little bit different in style than what you're used to. Sometimes it's not like this. This looks like the Calcutta style. We usually call it the Calcutta style of Devanagari. Okay. Anyway, we all know Devanagari, so we can just carry on. Here we have the dentals. Ta 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 da da na. And so everybody knows those. We all know those letters. Now, here's a couple of letters maybe you don't know. These were mentioned before on page 11. It was mentioned that in the Veda, this is only for the Veda. In the Veda, if you have these two cerebrals, this one, da and da, right? If you have them with a vowel on each side, right? Then they change to this. This is a type of Vedic. This is a Vedic L. A Vedic L. It also comes in some other languages in South India, like Tamil. But anyway, so this is written like this with an L with a dot under it. Now in IAST, the transliteration system that we use, normally when we put a dot under an L, it means the vocalic L. It means the vowel re. But here he's used L with a dot under it to mean this consonant, and then L with a dot under it, H, to mean this consonant, which is the aspirated form, the form with more. Remember, with consonants, have a look here. We have unaspirated, aspirated, unaspirated, aspirated. So less air. What in Sanskrit what we call alpa prana, mahaprana, alpa prana, mahaprana, nasal. Right. These are the families of letters that we get in the alphabet are given to us like that. Hard, unaspirated, hard aspirated, soft, or voiced, unvoiced and then voiced. So we have two unvoiced, then two voiced, three voiced, right? Like that. So these terminology you should all be familiar with: voiced and unvoiced, hard and soft. Hard and soft and voiced and unvoiced, they're just two ways of saying the same thing. Hard means there's less vibration of the vocal cords. Soft means there's more unvoiced. Think about it. Don't forget about soft and hard. Think about voiced and unvoiced. So this is unvoiced and this is voiced. Voiced means more use of the vocal cords, more vibration of the vocal cords. Okay. Anyway, so that's just, you're never going to see this unless you look in the Veda. But as soon as you look in the Veda, the very first sentence of the Veda, Rig Veda 1:1:1, is Agnimi ile, Agnimi ile. So the word actually is Agni mi ide, ide, but the ide becomes ile because on both sides of the are vowels, and the rule changes them to this Vedic letter. Okay, so We don't have to know that if we're not dealing with Vedic Sanskrit, but that is just something in Vedic Sanskrit. So just to be complete, he's explained that to us. Okay, we'll never hardly see this. Okay, so now the grammar. Okay, Sanskrit nouns are formed in a similar way to verbs. So up until now, we've been talking about forming verbs, right? We've also talked about in infant reader, and also here we're talking about nouns. So nouns have endings and verbs have endings. When nouns have endings, we call those endings declensional endings, and we say we decline the noun. When verbs have endings, we call those endings conjugational endings, and we conjugate verbs. So if I say to somebody, I would like you to conjugate the verb gutch, right? Or gum, which becomes gutch in the present indicative tense, lut, right? So then you say gachati, gachitaha, gachanti, gachasi, gachitaha, gachita, gachami, gachawaha, gachamaha. That is conjugating the verb to go, gutch. Okay, but if I say I want you to take the word Rama or the word Krishna, and I want you to decline it, then you have to tell me the different endings that are added to the word, singular, dual, and plural, and all the different case endings. Now we're going to learn we're going to start learning case endings. Up until now, we haven't really talked about case endings. We haven't talked about nouns and declensions. So a noun is a naming word. It's a word that names something like that. A proper noun is the name of somebody like Arjuna or Krishna. But a regular noun is like a horse or a cart or a book. This is a proper noun, right? So now, okay, so the root, dhatu, forms a stem, pratipadika. So the word root is the same, right? In Sanskrit for verbs and nouns, dhatu. It's not now. It forms a stem. Remember, with verbs we had gum, and then we have gutch, and then we had ati, and we added gutch ati, and it became gutchati. He goes, right? So really, what's more important for us to know is not the dhatu form, not the root form of verbs and nouns, but the actual pratipadika, the actual stem form, which we add the endings to. The endings are called sup by Panini, right? Sup. And the reason why they're called sup is because Panini has this very shorthand way of referring to different things. His sutras are very, very cryptic. So sup, what does sup stand for? Sup stands for sualja samalja tabiam bisgebiam biasgasibam biasgasasam gyo sup. Okay, and so the first letter of that is su, and the last letter is the p, so they become sup. All those endings together are sup, right? In fact, there's a sutra by Panini, suptingantam padam. Padam means a word. To make a fully either declined or conjugated noun or verb, we have to add the endings. We have to add the proper endings. We add noun endings for nouns, and we add verb endings for verbs. Okay. So these noun endings are called sup, but they're just called sup by Panini. Don't worry about it too much. Now, they're added to form a noun, subanta. Now, subanta, right, sounds like sup, right? So if we get sup and we add anta, anta means end, like Vedanta. Vedanta means the end of the Vedas, the last part of the Vedas, the Upanishads. So anta means end. So if we add sup and anta, because of the A, the P turns into a B and it becomes subanta. This is a Sandhi. We haven't learned the Sandhi yet, but we will learn it. So what this word subanta means, it means any word ending with sup is a noun, right? Because the noun endings are called sup. So any word that has a noun ending on it is a noun. That's really simple. Okay, so a fully formed noun is called a subanta, right? You don't have to remember all this stuff. It's not that important. These are just the names of roots, stems, endings, and nouns in Sanskrit. We're not going to use the Sanskrit terminology all that much. We're going to use English terminology. We're going to talk about roots, stems, endings, and nouns. We're not going to talk about dhatus, pratipadika, sup, and subanta. But he's just explaining what they are, because you will meet people, or you may listen to Dr. Tieran Ryan, and he may say, this is a subanta, this is a pratipadika, this is a dhatu. And so it's sort of useful when you're talking to Indian Sanskrit teachers to know the terminology. And sometimes in Indian texts, they'll refer to the terminology. So we're learning the terminology in Sanskrit as well, but we won't use it all that much ourselves. Nouns are of various cases. What is a noun? What is a case? A case is a particular ending that you add to a noun, right? So just like we had with verbs, we had person, we had number, right? And now we're introducing case. Okay, so with verbs, we had first person, second person, third person, singular, dual, and plural, right? And then we had different tenses, but we've only learned one tense, the present tense so far. Okay, so with nouns, we have a whole lot of cases, and these case endings are used, whereas in English and sometimes in Hindi and everything like that, we would use other words like what we call prepositions or postpositions, other words to indicate. So for instance, I'll give you an example. In English, I have the word house. If I want to say at the house, if I want to use location, I say at the house, or I can even say in the house, right? I can also say of the house. That is a possession, possessive case, right? So these are different endings that in Sanskrit, these are done with endings, right? In English, they're used with prepositions. So at the house, in the house, on the house, by the house, for the house, these are all different words that I add to house to give it different meanings. In Sanskrit, what I do is I add those at the end. I just put endings on, and I get in the house, at the house, on the house, by the house, right? For the house. Now, so these are called cases in Sanskrit. So in Sanskrit, we're going to learn a noun, and we're going to learn singular, dual, and plural, and we're going to learn the different endings for different cases so we can use it properly in sentences. Okay, so nouns are various cases, and those cases, the endings which we add to them, as well as being called sup by Panini, are mostly described as vibhakti. Vibhakti means the particular ending that's added. Vibhakti means division, but it means the particular ending which is added onto the noun, the vibhakti, right? Depending on the role that they play in the sentence. We will learn first two cases. Right? Remember, we have with nouns also numbers. We have singular, dual, and plural, right? So we have one house, two houses, three houses, three or more houses, right? Singular, dual, and plural. Right, so we will learn two cases, singular, dual, and plural. The nominative is called pratama. So these cases have got different meanings, but when we name the case, each case, right, is named after an ordinal number. One, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? So pratama means first, right? If we know Jyotish, if we know something about the Panchangam, we know that the pratama is the first day of the waning moon or the waxing moon, right? It's actually the pratama titi, the first lunar day, right? But we just call it pratama. Similarly, we have Ekadasi, which is Ekadasi, the 1 plus 10, the 11th day, right? So Pratama, Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shashti, Saptami, Astami, Navami, right? These are different ways of counting. These are called ordinals. With numbers, there are two types of numbers. There's cardinals and ordinals. If I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that is cardinal. Those are cardinal numbers. If I say first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, that is ordinals, in order. Just think about it like the Olympics, like somebody running a race. Somebody comes first, second, third, fourth. That's the order that they come in. So those numbers are ordinals. Other numbers are called cardinals, right? First, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're cardinals. Okay, so here, pratama is the first ordinal number. It means first. Pratama means first, right? So the first case. So it refers to the vibhakti or the endings that go on the noun, singular, dual, and plural. So there's three endings for the pratama case, singular, dual, and plural, right? So if we have house, houses, two houses, and more than two houses, right? So the nominative is used for naming the subject. Okay, so the word nominative or nomenclature in English means nomen. The word nomen comes from the Latin and it means name. It means to name something. So the nominative case, right, which is also called pratama vibhakti, right, the first ending, first case, first division here, right? So nominative case means pratama vibhakti is used for the subject of a sentence, an active sentence. Don't get confused when I say an active sentence. We haven't talked about middle or passive. We're talking about active. We only know active indicative now. That's the only tense of the verb that we know now, right? So remember that we had the word gachati, right? Gachati, right? So gachati means he, she, or it goes, right? But we don't. The he, she, or it is included in the verb. Now, if I'm to say something goes and actually name that thing, right? So if I say, for instance, ashvaha, ashvaha, ashvaha means horse. If I say ashvaha gachati, it means the horse or a horse, because the and a, in English we have the and a. So a is called the indefinite article and the is called the definite article, because if I say the horse, that means I definitely mean that one. If I say a horse, it could mean any horse, right? So it's indefinite. So we have articles. The two articles in English are a and the. In French, we have, like, if we say le horse, or if we say un horse, right? A horse. Right. So in English, we say the horse or a horse, right? So we use the and a. The is the definite article. A is the indefinite article. In Sanskrit, we don't have these things. We don't have that distinction. We just have horse. We just have the word horse. We just have the noun. When we translate it into English, we can say a horse or the horse. It's the same thing, right? Okay. So now we're talking about using the pratama vibhakti or the nominative case to name the noun, which is the subject of the sentence. The subject. So what is a sentence? The sentence is gachati. Simple sentence is gachati. He goes. He, she, or it goes. If I want to name what goes, if I want to put a noun in there, because there is no noun in that sentence, there's only a verb with an ending. If I want to say he, she, or it, what he, she, or it, if I want to name that, I want to say the horse, right? Then I say ashvaha gachati. And ashvaha has to be in the nominative case, and it has to be named, right? So the nominative pratama is used in naming the subject, as in Rama goes, right? So Rama goes would be Ramaha gachati, right? Gachati means he goes. Ramaha means Rama. So the nominative case is also used for a predicate nominative identified with the subject. For instance, as in Rama is the king. Rama is the king. Right? So that will be Ramaha Rajaha Bhavati, right? Bhavati means to be. He is, right? In India, words are normally cited independently in the nominative or naming case. Okay, so when somebody looks in a dictionary, if you look up ashvaha, if you look up horse in the dictionary, it's going to say ashvaha. Just as we get the root, right? When we look up a verb, we're going to get the verbal root, and we're also going to get the third person singular present tense form. So when I look up a verb, gach, right, which is actually gum, if I look up the verb to go, I'm going to say gum, gachati, to go, in the dictionary. Gum, gachati, to go. The root is going to be given, and then the stem with the third person singular ending is going to be given to show me how to conjugate that verb. Similarly, when I look up a noun, I'm going to see ashvaha, and it's going to, or ashva. It might be ashva or ashvaha, but it's going to be shown to me in the nominative case. So that's all he's saying here. That usually when you cite a noun, you cite it in the nominative case. All right, so that's the nominative case. That's the first case. Pratama vibhakti, the first case. Right, the second case. So we have first case, we have pratama vibhakti, pratama singular, pratama dual, and pratama plural. So that means we have one horse, two horses, and more than two horses. Right, so that will be ashvaha, ashval, ashvaha. These are the different endings. Okay, we're going to learn those in a second. Okay, so then we have the accusative case, which is the second case. What is the accusative case used for? The accusative case, think of accusing, right? If I accuse, I have to accuse somebody. Somebody has to be the object of my accusation, right? So I accuse somebody. Nominative, I name something. Accusative, I accuse something, or I have to have an object for my accusation. So an accusative is for the object. So if we have the boy kicked the boy is the subject of the sentence. Kicking is the action of the sentence, which is the verb. The ball is the object of the boy's kick, of the kicking, right? So he's the object, so that is the object of the sentence. That is the accusative case. The boy is in the nominative case. The ball is in the accusative case, right? Okay, so the accusative is called dvitiya. Dvitiya means the second case. The second case, right? So we have pratama, first, dvitiya, second. So just as we have pratama ekavachanam, pratama dvivachanam, pratama bahuvachanam, which means first case, or nominative case, singular, dual, and plural, we also have accusative case is called dvitiya, the second case. We have dvitiya ekvachanam, dvivachanam, and bahuvachanam. So dvitiya or accusative, singular, dual, and plural. Right. So the example he gives here, the accusative is also the object of motion. So it can either be the direct object, right? The boy kicked the ball, right? Or for instance, it can also be the object of motion. So if the accusative can also, as in, he goes to the city, to the city. To the city is the object, but it's also the destination. It's motion towards. Now, anybody who's studied Latin knows that there's a thing called, for instance, in English we say ad infinitum means unto the infinite, right? Up to the infinite, right? Ad infinitum, right? So the word ad is the noun that comes after the word ad. Ad means to, right? Ad astra means to the stars, right? So the word that comes after ad has to be put in the accusative case in Latin. So similarly here in Sanskrit also, the accusative case is used for motion towards. Any sentence that you have motion towards a place, that place is put in the accusative case. Okay, so there's two reasons to put there's one reason to put something in the nominative case for now, right? And that is to name it as the subject of a sentence. There's two reasons to put something in the accusative case, and that is either it's the direct object of a sentence, or it represents motion towards that thing, physical motion towards that thing. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so for example, the man goes to the horse. The man goes to the horse. The word man would be nominative and the word horse would be accusative, right? Because not only is it the subject of the object of the sentence, but it's also motion towards the horse, right? So the man goes to the horse, nominative, accusative. Here, the formation of masculine nouns ending in stems with a, right? For the nominative and the accusative, the pratama vibhakti and the dvitiya vibhakti. So here we have the pratama vibhaktis and the dvitiya vibhaktis, the nominative and accusative of nara, naraha, naraha or nara. So normally we'll say nara or naraha means a man, right? So naraha, narao, naraha, naram, narao, naran. Okay, so that is the first two cases in Sanskrit, right? For a ending masculine nouns, right? Singular, dual, and plural. Ekavachana, dvivachana, bahuvachana. Notice that naraha is formed by nara plus s. The s, right? So sometimes people will say nara means a man. Sometimes people say naraha means a man, which is accusative of nara. Nominative of nara. And sometimes people will say naras. It's the word naras. So, okay, it's the word naras, but the s changes by sandhi into a visarga. So it's naraha. So we're not doing sandhi right now. We're just doing these case endings. Okay, so that's the basic grammar. Now, the verb and subject, right? So ashvaha gachati, the horse goes, right? So the horse is the noun, and the gachati is the verb. The verb gachati and the horse, right, have to agree. They have to, if you want to make a proper sentence, they have to be in the same number, right? Obviously, if I say ashvaha gachati, that means one horse goes, right? If I say ashvaha gachanti, means those plural horses go, right? Ashvaha, right? Because up here we have, right? Naraha. Let's use naraha then also, like the man goes, right? So the man goes is going to be naraha, gachati. But two men go is going to be narao gachitaha. And many men go is naraha gachanti. Does everybody follow that? So when we make the subject singular, dual, and plural, we have to make the verb also singular, dual, and plural to match the subject. Aha. Okay, good. So, for example, if the subject is singular, then the verb must be singular. The man goes to the horse, subject and verb are singular. Right? Now, plural would be the men go to the horse. Right? Now, in that case, the men are plural. Right? Plural of man is men. Then the go to instead of goes to, right? So you change the verb, but the horse, the subject, the object stays the same. To the horse is the same in both, right? So it doesn't affect this doesn't affect. So the subject and the verb have to agree in number, but the object doesn't. Okay, so that's not as hard to understand as it sounds, but anyway. Okay, so the direct object need not agree with either the subject or the verb. We are learning the rules for the agent construction. Kartari prayoga. Prayoga means a type of construction, right? We know that when we do puja, we write out a prayoga. It's a construction. It can be a construction or an instruction, let's say, for how we do something. Kartari comes from the word, we're going to see down there, katri. Katri means the nominative. It's another name for saying the Pratama Vibhakti, the first case, is kartri, the subject of the sentence. Or karman, the object of the action, karman. So we have this verb katri, right? Even the soul is called sometimes, in philosophy, the soul is called katri. The doer, it means. Okay, so we're learning the rules for an agent construction. Kartari prayoga, which is like an active construction. Here, the agent of action, the kartri, is in the nominative case, right? And the object of action, karman, is in the accusative, right? The men go to the horse, or the man goes to the horse, right? Okay, so now a noun in apposition. What is a noun in apposition? Okay, so that's a fancy way of saying where you put two nouns together and one noun is more or less like an adjective. It describes the other noun. It's in apposition. So you have two nouns, right, that are in the same case. So don't get confused about that. A noun in apposition means there are two nouns in the same case, usually nominative here, right? Or it could be accusative, whatever it is. So a noun in apposition, such as Rama the boy, it could be accusative also. The Rama the boy is put in the same case as the noun that follows. So Rama the boy, right? So if I say she speaks to Rama the boy, she speaks, she is the subject. Speaking is the verb. To Rama, who is a boy, Rama the boy. So the boy Rama. She speaks to the boy Rama. Boy and Rama are both in the accusative case. They're both the object of speaking. Right? So for example, in the sentence, she speaks to Rama the boy, both Rama and boy are accusative. Similarly, if I say Rama the king rules Ayodhya. Rama the king are both in the nominative. They're both in the Pratama Vibhakti. Okay? So this is called when you have nouns in apposition. Nouns in apposition is very much like adjectives. You have a noun, and in fact, in Sanskrit, adjectives and nouns are basically the same thing. So you have one noun which describes another noun, right? So we have here, for instance, Rama the boy or Rama the king, right? There's Rama who is a king, right? So kingly Rama, we could say kingly Rama if we wanted to say it in another way, right? Or boyish Rama here. So we have the boy, Rama who is a boy, Rama who is a king. We just say Rama king, Rama boy, and put them in the same case, and then they act like that as nouns in apposition. It's called. Okay, so the normal word order. We haven't talked about word order yet, but in Sanskrit, word order doesn't matter so much. In English, we normally have sentences where we say subject, verb, object, right? The boy kicked the ball. The boy is the subject. Kicked is the verb. The ball is the object. In many languages, you get the verb at the end, right? Of a sentence, you get subject, object, verb. Here, we have subject, direct object, and verb. So in Sanskrit, you'll get subject, direct object, verb. So here we have the man to the horse goes, right? So Naraha is the man. What is it? It's an A-ending masculine noun in the Pratama Vibhakti Ekvachanam. One man, right? So in the nominative case, singular, Naraha, not Narao, Naraha, Naraha. Then we have Ashvam, right? Did he give us? He didn't, yeah, he did give us, okay, accusative, right? Ashram is what? Ashram is the accusative singular. Accusative singular because the horse is the object, right? So nominative singular for Naraha. Ashram is accusative singular, and Gachati is the verb. The verb agrees with the subject. Naraha Gachati means the man goes. He goes. The man, he goes. Where does he go? He goes to the horse, right? Ashram, which is in the object case or accusative singular, right? So now with Sandhi, that's without Sandhi. With Sandhi, the Visarga here, the A Visarga here on Naraha, because of the short A that starts Ashram, right, is turned into an O, and there's an apostrophe put here, and the A drops out, so it becomes Naroshvam Gachati with Sandhi. We don't have to know that right now. What we should concentrate on is the ones without Sandhi, and then we'll add Sandhi later or take away Sandhi later. Okay. So because Naraha ends in a Visarga, right, we know that it is the man who is doing the going and not the horse. The man is the subject, he's the doer, he's the kartri, right? He's the kartri, he's the doer of the action. The action is the verb. So while English relies on the order of words, right, to give us an idea, we put the subject first in a sentence, then we put the object, then we put the verb, then we put the object. So we rely in English on word order very much. Whereas in Sanskrit, we don't need word order. It doesn't need, we can say it in any way we like. So here, for instance, right, We could have said gachati naraha ashram. It means the same thing. We could have said ashram naraha gachati. It means the same thing. It means the same thing. Doesn't matter what the order is because we see that this is the subject by the ending. Naraha is a subject by the ending. It's got a pratima ending. It's got a nominative ending. So it must be the subject. Ashram has got an accusative ending. Therefore, it's the object, right? And gachati, right? We know what that means. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where that we put these in the sentence. Okay. So the articles such as the or a must be put in English translation as needed because they don't occur in Sanskrit. So these words the or a. So if I say ashvaha, it means the horse. It can also mean a horse. Okay. Here, that's it for all the grammar, and now we're just going to get vocabulary, right? So ashvaha, a horse, gajaha, an elephant. See, they're saying here, they're giving in full here whether they're masculine. These are all masculine nouns. Okay, so ashvaha, gajaha, naraha. Naraha means man, putraha means son, mrigaha means deer, ramaha means Rama. And then we get another indeclinable. An indeclinable means we don't have to worry about any endings. We don't have to put any endings on it. We just use that word just as it is always. So what the other indeclinable that we learned so far is cha. Cha means and. So we can use cha. So here we learn or. Instead of and, we're learning or. So we can say Ramaha Mrigaha cha, right? Means Rama and the deer, right? But if I say Ramaha Mrigaha va, it means Rama or the deer, one or the other, right? Okay, so nouns will be cited in the nominative case because traditionally that case is used for citing words independently. Right, so when we look it up in a dictionary or when we talk to somebody else about a noun, we cite it in the nominative or prathama vibhakti, the nominative case. Nouns as well as verbs may be connected by cha and va. Cha means and, va means or. So we can connect. Remember, we were connecting in simple sentences where we just had verbs, gachati, smarti, right? Right. He goes and remembers. So gachati cha, smarti cha, or gachati smarti cha, right? He goes and remembers. He goes and he remembers, right? Okay, so we're connecting two verbs with cha. So we could say gachati va, smarti va. He goes or he remembers, right? Or we can say gachati smarti va. He goes or he remembers. So it's going to be used in the same way as cha, va. Right? Notice it's a long A, va, whereas cha is cha. Cha and va. Cha and va. Right? So and or. When two nominatives are connected with va, the verb agrees with the nominative closest to it. Right? For example, here's another example. Okay, so we have the horse or the elephants go, right? The horse or the elephants go. So if I want to say there's one horse, there's many elephants, right? Both of these nouns are in the nominative case. So which one of them is going to affect the verb, right? Because remember we said that the verb has to agree with the number of the noun, right? If there's a singular subject noun, then there has to be singular verb. If there's a dual subject noun, there has to be a dual verb. If there's a plural subject noun, there has to be a plural verb. So in this case, you've got the subjects are one horse and many elephants. One horse and the indeclinable is va, so it's one horse or many elephants. So the horse or the elephants go. So how do we know how to make the verb correct? Does it go? Do we say ashvaha gaja ashvaha, one horse, gajaha, many elephants, va or gachanti, they go, or is it gachati? because the horse is singular, so maybe it should be gachati. No, he says the rule is whichever word, whichever noun, whichever subject, the one horse and the many elephants are both subjects here. But whichever subject is closest to the noun, to the verb, that's the one that affects the verb. So here, ashvaha is singular, but the verb is plural because gajaha is plural, and that gajaha is closer to the verb. Okay, so ashvaha, one horse, gajaha, many elephants, va, or gachanti, they go. That is without the sandhi. With the sandhi, again, ashvaha becomes ashvo, gaj, because this is a voiced letter or a soft letter, right? So gaja drops the visarga because in front of v, right? So these are all rules we haven't learned yet. These are sandhi rules. Don't get confused too much about it. So ashvo gaja va gachanti. So in actual Sanskrit text, we will see ashvo gaja va gachanti. But for now, we're understanding it without sandhi, without the connection rules, right? Ashvaha gajaha va gachanti. He goes is gachanti. The man, he goes, is naraha gachanti, right? The man, he goes. With sandhi, it's naro gachanti, right? However, when there is a subject, the he is dropped, right? So when we actually name the subject, the man, right, then we don't have to say he goes anymore. We just say the man goes. Therefore, naraha gachanti or naro gachanti would be translated the man goes or a man goes. It could be a man goes. The man goes. We don't have to say the man, he goes. So when we translate from Sanskrit, right, we want to put it in English that makes proper English sense. So always write English sentences using the rules of correct English. Hopefully everybody knows correct English. And normally, although we will see the man, he goes, naraha gachati, we will only write the man goes. Okay, or a man goes. Okay, so now we have the exercises, right? So now continue to learn the consonants in Devanagari, memorize the singular, dual, and plural forms of the masculine ending nouns in short A, like naraha. What are they? Naraha, narao, naraha, naram, narao, naran. Right? In the nominative and accusative. These are to be learned horizontally. Let's just go back and see what they are. Here we are. Naraha, narao, naraha. Nominative, singular, dual, and plural. Accusative. Or object, right? Objective case, right? Naram, narao, naran, right? These are the endings. Okay. So then, whoops. Right, learn the vocabulary and continue reviewing all the vocabulary from the past lessons. Translate the following sentences using the summary sheet. Right, so the summary sheet is here. This is the summary sheet, page 40. Gives us how to conjugate the verb gach, right, or gum. Gachati, gachitaha, gachanti, gachasi, gachitaha, gachata, gachami, gachavaha, gachamaha. Right, we also have the nouns, naraha, narao, naraha, naram, narao, naran. Right, so far we have all the verbs that we know, and we have the roots given on the side here, and we have the third person, singular, indicative, present tense, right? Continuous present tense here. Gachati, prichati, bhavati, vadati, vasati, tistati, smarti, right? He goes, he asks, he is, he speaks, he says, he lives, he stands, and he remembers, right? Then we have all the nouns that we've learned. Ashvaha, horse, Gajaha, elephant, Naraha, man, Putraha, son, Mrigaha, deer, Ramaha, Rama. Then we have the indeclinables, putra, which means where, if we want to ask a question, right? Cha meaning and, va meaning or, and na meaning not. Okay, so that is the lesson there.